Take a walk. Take a walk. That's what I said.
We about to go live.
We are
I'm
live.
pretty sure we're live.
My watch says time for bedtime for KJ.
It's time for lunch. That's
What did you have for lunch today?
Bubble guppies.
Bubble, 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 guppy, guppy, guppies.
What time is it? It's time for lunch. Isn't that bubble guppies?
No, that's...
Yeah, Allison says
Is
it's
it?
bubble guppies.
I thought that was Bot from...
So,
what's the show with Bot?
Umizumi.
Yeah, Team Umizumi.
so I gotta.
I think I'm right. I think y'all are wrong.
No, it's bubble guppies.
What did I just say?
You said umizumi.
Boom, boom, pop, boom, boom.
No, I know what I said. I'm right.
How come the boom, boom, pop, boom,
You know,
boom don't show up on words?
I've never visited Facebook on a computer.
Sean got voted off the island.
Hello, Lois. How are ya?
Who's watching?
Hello, Betty.
watching?
How are ya?
Oh,
I mean, how are ya?
turn this down.
Oh, man. Yo, I might not be able to see everybody that comes up because I'm not an admin. In case, you know,
Oh, okay.
people show up that I can't see.
Oh, boy.
Hey, Betty. How are ya? Yeah, we can start.
So
Yep, let's roll it in. Little
Hang on.
Oh,
Hang on.
what?
Hang on. What's up, everybody? It's time for another episode of your favorite podcast. Tonight we're doing a little bit of a special episode, episode 102. It's entitled "Joy Cometh in the Morning," because there's sorrow right now. Real quick, go around the room for a little bit of introductions. We have Tom Rivera.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
Well, I like the way you did that.
Thank you.
Eta.
Eta.
Eta. And we have Sean Con. Where is Sean?
Wait, oh, he's not in yet?
Sean's not in yet.
Oh, there
He's
he is
running
on the
a little
mic.
bit
He's
late.
on the mic.
Oh, there he is. Here he comes.
There's Sean. Wow,
Here he
he's
comes.
Sean, thanks.
Hey, what's going on?
Sean's here.
Sean's here. The lighting in here is
It's hot, it was hot yesterday. A lot of sun. lot of sun.
No, Sean's not feeling great tonight. We have Javar Thompson filling in for Sean. Hi, Javar. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, what's going on?
And I think that's it. That's everybody.
I think you missed one.
Just this guy right here. We got Javar. We got Tom.
Sean's not here.
Sean's not here. Yeah.
And,
Anyway, welcome to the podcast. Who did I forget?
I don't know. Someone seems like there's someone.
Elijah's here.
He's not smiling. That's why.
Hi, Elijah. How you doing, Elijah?
What's up?
Anyway,
Man.
so
Don't do that too often.
Don't
you will
do-
melt the mic.
I will melt the mic. Well, we've had an interesting pre-show. I think we're ready to roll. We talked about Stranger Things. We talked about the Varsity Blues. No, so last week, I just want to get this started off a little bit like this, okay? Last week, news was breaking in our pre-show about the school shooting, and we just didn't want to talk about it too much last week. We did mention it a couple times in last week's episode, but we all felt really strongly this week that we wanted to do a full special episode talking about the school shooting in Texas and school shootings in general, as well as, you know, the issues that are going on in our country. It's just been a little bit of a depressing week. We lost a member of our church in the last couple of days, and you know, the news in Pottstown, a home was blown up last week, and that already seems like a month ago, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's tragedy all around, but we're just anyway, we're just going to do a full episode relating to the school shooting. Is there anything you guys want to get off your chest before we start?
No, I mean, I think we can start. I was looking for some verses for today, and I came across Ecclesiastes 9:18, which has, "Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. And that one really stuck with me. It really stuck with me because of we're going to talk about the shooting that occurred, and it's usually one person doing the damage, and the other one that stuck up to me was Matthew 26:52. But put your sword back in its place, and this is when Peter went to cut off the ear of the Roman. And Jesus told him, put your sword back in the place. Jesus said to him, for all who draw the sword will die by the sword. And that one stuck with me too, because you have the shooter going to the school.
Yeah.
And then that's the way he died, in essence. But
Can you read that first verse again?
wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. Yeah.
I got to tell you, I'm really angry. I've been angry all week.
Yeah.
I even before I came to this episode tonight, I told my wife, I said, I don't even know if it's a great idea for me to go into the show because I've just been going back and forth between like debilitating sadness for what is going on, or what happened with the shooting, and real anger over people who don't acknowledge it. And then I'm trying to balance that with my spirituality and the fact that I believe that there is a God who is in control and who loves everybody and who is just, and is a God of justice. And we're supposed to be people of justice, as well as, living in a free society where people are free to move about. People are free, and, they're different definitions and different interpretations of what we should be doing. But I will tell you, so yesterday I took a trip up to New Hampshire, and I sent you guys a picture. I don't know if you saw it on the group chat.
Yep, we saw it.
I saw a gun store while I was up there, and the guy, it was a gun store in a strip mall on a main street, and in every window was like anti-government, anti-liberal government, really hateful posters, depicting Barack Obama as a communist dictator, and put his face up with people who've killed hundreds of thousands of people, and Joe Biden, F Joe Biden, and this stuff, and then like they advertise, we now carry machine guns and suppressors. And I see that in New Hampshire. And I'm not making this up. And 2 hours later, while I'm driving home, I pass the exit in Newtown, Connecticut, for Sandy Hook. And so I see people in our country who are just like so anti-left, just strong, Republican, conservative, but just anger towards the other side. They're just creating this division, but at the same time worshiping at the altar of weapons of war and selling them and not caring one bit that children are being brutally murdered. And when that happens, people, oh yeah, by the way, I might be getting political tonight.
It doesn't happen often.
Quick disclaimer. But at the same time, like, children are being shot to the point where they're unidentifiable. They're doing DNA tests on children to figure out which kid it was who died. That happened. That's real. And then people go on Facebook and say, guns don't kill people. Cain killed Abel with a rock. I saw a pastor put that on Facebook. Cain killed Abel with a rock. And I'm going, but pastor, look up the guy who committed the Newtown school shooting. He was 82 pounds soaking wet. How many people do you think he could kill with a rock? Yes, there is a real problem of sin in this world, of which our job is to bring light into the world and share the gospel with people who don't believe, and share love and bring joy. I get that. But at the same time, are we to say nothing about, standing up for justice for children? I mean, we're
innocent children.
We are a free society, that believes in freedom of expression, freedom of the words that you're allowed to say, the place you're allowed to live, the
Assemble where you want to.
yeah, assemble where you want to, worship as you will. But when does the freedom to buy an assault rifle contradict the freedom to have a living child come home on the school bus? You know, that's where, you know, I'm struggling a little bit with, you know, for the past several years, I've tried to stay quiet and be peaceful and love people who I disagreed with, and I still do. I'm just struggling with how to do that when those people go to Facebook and say, we have a sin problem, we don't have a gun problem.
This whole situation that just happened really, this one really hurt. They all hurt. The Sandy Hook one hurt. The shooting at the church hurt because I'm a pastor at my church, and I'm like, well, what are we doing to protect our people, right? But this one, you know, I started thinking. I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie Lean on Me, when Crazy Joe, right? Crazy Joe locks all the doors to keep all the drugs out, right? Yeah. And I start thinking about this situation here that happened, and there's so many red flags that go up every time I think about it. You know, there's usually, to a school, there's one main entrance, and then there's a lot of fire exits that are usually locked, right? Well, this kid just happened to find the one unlocked door and run right in. Yeah. You know, and that's just one, right? The kid gets in a car accident. He crashes his car into a ditch right by the school. The cops come to him to find out if he's okay. He says, yes, I'm okay. The cops just leave. And then he goes into his trunk, and then he shoots at the school. Cops were there within minutes of the shooting. Minutes of the shooting, right? But then they just stay outside. They don't do anything about it. While parents are there yelling at them, trying to go in themselves.
There was absolutely a failure of...
This is like when you said you were going to get political, this is what stinks. The people that are in power, they have these rules. And they have these rules in place to protect them. Meaning, if something happens, and like I watch too much TV, so it's just like, say there's a fire, there's somebody on scene that doesn't rank high enough to do what they feel is right. It's not about your feelings, it's about protocol, and that's what stinks. And I think had they broke protocol, they would have been able to go in and do something. But because everybody's so scared about the backlash and the civil suits, and somebody's going to sue me because I did this, or what if I grab somebody's child and on the way out I trip, fall, crush their child, now I'm going to get in trouble. So many people are worried about the what if instead of just doing.
Yeah. So
you could chime in whenever you want to.
I know.
He's like I don't want to be a giant target yet. But I do want to say, like, I moved to Pennsylvania from New York City. In New York City, you're not allowed to own a handgun, that sort of thing. When I moved out here, I became a gun owner. I still am a gun owner. I'm one of these people politically who doesn't have a home. I'm a conservative who doesn't vote for conservative candidates. I'm a gun owner who believes in waiting periods, psychological tests, and like really stringent rules to own a firearm. You know, I don't have a home politically. Both sides hate me. Okay, so like, you know, I have a big diesel truck and a Toyota Prius. Okay, but our system is a joke. Okay, everybody says, well, we have a sin problem, not a gun problem. Well, there's a sin problem in England. There's a sin problem in Ireland and Scotland. There's a sin problem all over the world. They don't have the school shootings that we have because they also don't have 400 million firearms, which a big percentage of those are in the hands of people who don't know how to use them. You know, Javar was in the military. How long were you trained on firearm control?
It was ongoing training, even up until like, the point that...
Were you given psychological tests before you went into the military?
I mean, they do like tests and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The
I mean,
aptitude test. Make
yeah.
sure you're not crazy. They reject people all the time who are
Yeah.
psychologically unfit.
Rorschach test, is that part of it? The Rorschach test?
Yeah, like the ink blotter test.
That's a butterfly. No, that's a Cheeto.
But you know, that's a controlled environment where firearms should be. At the same time, did they hand out the rocks? Did they give you a rock to go into battle with?
No.
Okay, they gave you a gun, right?
Yeah.
Because the guns kill people better.
But see, here's the other, like you said, both sides hate me. That's funny. You said Diesel and Prius. That's like, do I like pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie? But what I do see is like both sides will hate me because you have to try to look at both sides
Yep.
and not just go off emotion.
Yeah.
Because if you look from the side of someone who lost someone, it's like, why would you stand there? Why would you not do anything?
Mm-hmm.
People are trained every day in scenarios, and that's all they are. They're scenarios. They're what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? But when you're faced with it, a lot of times people say that training disappears. You're frozen. You don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, like you own a gun. Anybody who owns a gun and they go to the range, you go to the range and you practice. I pull, I cock, I shoot. I pull, I cock, I shoot. That's that muscle memory. If that's not something you're constantly doing, you get in a situation where you have to use it, you freeze.
Yeah.
And that's how people get hurt.
Well, I'm a gun owner. I became a gun owner when I moved to Pennsylvania. I wasn't given a psychological test. I wasn't asked if I could shoot it. They never asked if I understood how to use it. They didn't ask how I was going to use it. They didn't give me any kind of test on a range to see if I knew how. 15 minutes after I said I wanted the gun, I walked out of the store with the gun and a box of ammunition. Recently, even though I've been riding a motorcycle for 10 years, I finally decided to get my motorcycle license. I've just been going from like permit to permit to permit every state that I lived in, and finally decided I should get a motorcycle license. So as far as the permit goes for Pennsylvania, you have to go down, stand in front of an official, fill out some forms, prove who you are, go sit in front of a computer, take a test, which I didn't, wasn't very hard, but I take a test, and then there's a waiting period. You have to leave. They expect you to go hone your skills. Then you come back and you prove that you can operate a motorcycle in front of somebody who's an examiner. You have to prove that you can safely operate it. You have to prove that, that you can show up on time to the test, safely operate it before they, complete all the steps that they give you to do. Then they grade you and they send you inside to get a motorcycle license if you passed. And the worst that you're going to do with a motorcycle is go kill yourself. You're not going to go kill 30 people with it, but we hand out assault rifles in this country like Cracker Jack boxes, and never once. I mean, look at the picture of any of these guys who commit these crimes. They look crazy. Like, can that just be a reason not to sell one to somebody? They look crazy.
No.
This guy bought 2 AR-15 style assault rifles within days of each other, and then within days of that, went in and killed 26.
They can't not sell it to him because it looks crazy because they got the Second Amendment. Yeah. But at the same time,
26 was Sandy Hill.
Sandy Hook. How many?
Sandy Hook. Yeah, this was 19 and 2 adults.
19 and 2. Yeah. Okay.
But at
I was
the
just
same,
reading about Sandy
like
Hook.
I am not a political person at all. I can't stand politics. I'm sure my 13-year-old son knows more about politics than I do. When it comes voting time, I'm not picking one ticket. I'm looking at everybody's name, picking individual things. I like this, I like this, I like that, I don't like that. But, oh my gosh. Give me a second. I lost it. But when it comes to this country and you look at the things that, even if I don't do research, I would guess 3 of the major money makers in this country. Guns is on that list.
Oh, yeah.
Tobacco is on that list.
Yep.
And alcohol is on that list.
Well, and not only are they big money-making corporations, those are...
They run.
Yeah, they endorse a lot of candidates so that they can stay in business.
So
yeah.
exactly, and that's where the politics come.
And that's where I run into a problem with politicians. All the ones who are big enough that you know their names, none of them are looking out for your good. I mean, for the vast majority of them would not be, because they have so many people. They have corporate sponsors. They legitimately have corporate sponsors that they need to please. And, I know I'm upsetting people out there with the gun thing. I will just say one thing. The other thing you hear a lot about is arm the teachers. I went to a school in New York City. I told you guys earlier. I went to a school in New York City. It had 3,000 kids in it. It kind of looked like the Pentagon, if you think about it. It had a giant courtyard in the middle and 5 wings.
A prison.
Well, it's New York City public school, so it's built by the same people who build the prisons.
No names, just numbers.
Yeah,
Go
pretty
ahead.
much. But it had 5 wings, 3 floors each, and a basement level. I get that I'm on the larger side of what schools, public schools in America look like. But 5 wings, 3 floors, basement level. Each wing was separated with double fire doors, for fire protection. If you armed even 10 teachers in that school and gave them training, and somebody walked in an entrance and started with body armor and started shooting at children, how many children would be dead before one of those teachers were able to respond? What happens when the teacher responds? Is the teacher wearing body armor? Are they given a tank? I mean,
In unfortunately, in any situation, they tie teachers' hands.
yeah.
They tie. It
Well,
doesn't.
these people, a lot of teachers aren't even built with. I mean, there's a reason they went into teaching. That was what their aptitude was for. They're not soldiers. They're loving, kind, gentle, thoughtful. They're not like instant reaction GI Joe. Like, I'm sorry, you watch too many movies. And so the other thing is that the NRA pushes, which, by the way, I used to fully endorse the NRA, up until I started listening to different opinions and using my brain and processing facts. The NRA says the only thing, Senator Ted Cruz said it a couple days ago, again, at the NRA rally, the only thing that can stop a bad guy with a gun is
A bad guy with a gun?
a good guy with a gun.
Ooh.
Right? This thing they've been saying that for 15 years. And former President Donald Trump spoke at that NRA rally, which, by the way, was held days after the school shooting in Texas, just a couple hundred miles away from the school shooting site in Texas. They held an NRA rally, which I thought was nice timing and nice placement. Former President Donald Trump spoke at that. Do you know what was outside the auditorium?
Armed people.
What was outside the auditorium were metal detectors, Secret Service, and police, making sure that nobody came in with a gun. But all the people at the convention were just good people. So why would they be afraid? They said
There's good people on
the
both
only way to
sides.
stop a shooting is for everybody to be armed. So why does it matter if people are armed in an NRA convention? They're in there saying that they're not going to change the laws. That we believe, they say we want our children to be safe, but we don't think banning any sort of guns or any sort of regulations or any sort of waiting period or anything like that is going to be helpful for this. But they, at the same time, while they're having their convention, won't allow anybody in with a gun.
Hypocritical, right? Is that what it is?
If I go to CVS and I buy Allegra D, I got to wait 2 weeks before I can get more Allegra D.
Yeah.
But I could walk in and just say, give me,
When I went to get my permit to carry, all the guy told me was, after they did the check, they did everything, he said, stop speeding. Huh? Yeah, it says right here, such and such, you got a speeding ticket. And I'm like, why you had to tell me that? I don't know. But it was really simple to get a gun, to get a permit, and people like circumvent the system where if you're, what is it called, reciprocity? Where you can carry in different, where you can carry in different states other than yours that are kind of like
reciprocity.
Reciprocity. Okay. I remember a while back I saw something on the news where people that lived in PA couldn't get one, but if you were a resident of Florida, you could get one. So they would get an address in Florida, get a license or some kind of ID, come to PA and buy it because now they're a Florida resident with reciprocity in PA. So the laws do need to they do need to change, but this has been said since the beginning of time.
I think even if they get rid of or try to take guns away from people, a criminal is going to find a way to get a gun.
Somebody's going to find a way.
And then what do you do at that point when you don't have to protect yourself?
So
it's kind of hard to.
I'm not against owning a gun. I just think we need. Can you think of any good scenario in which somebody who wanted to purchase a gun would not be able to wait 2 to 3 months?
No.
I mean, why would you say? What's the point of saying I need a gun and I need it in the next hour?
Unless somebody. You come to me and you say that, it sounds like either you are. It sounds like you're either. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. It sounds like you're either in imminent danger and you need to protect yourself ASAP, right now, ahora, or you want to go do something to somebody and you need to.
So
you think you have to qualify, like have a qualification every so often, like every year.
I mean, we have police who
we
have police who are firearms instructors. We can't have somebody on a Saturday just teaching people how to use them, making sure they knew how to use them safely. We can't do a background check on people who just want to buy an AR-15 right now.
There is a quote, I believe it was Einstein, that fits almost every scenario, guns especially. And it is, and this is how I look at my children. This is how I look at life. To lead an uninstructed body to war is to throw them away. Wow,
I never heard that one before. But yeah, I'm just and I don't see a scenario in which an 18-year-old needs to walk in, buy 2 AR-15s within 2 days, 800 rounds of ammunition, and that never once did he break the law until he fired the first round. Like, doesn't that blow you away?
I mean, even this guy from the Texas shooting, he was arrested before for terroristic threats.
You would think that should pop a background check, except
then
they didn't do one.
Yeah, you would think if he has a terroristic threat on his record, and then he goes on Facebook and puts on Facebook exactly what he's going to do. I'm going to go shoot my grandma. Then he completes that, and then he says, "Now I'm going to go finish and shoot up an elementary school." Yeah. Right.
The fact that he had a terroristic threat in his background, charge in his background anyway, should have eliminated him from the process of buying a weapon anyway.
The thing is, if you, I mean, there's always, you don't necessarily, and I don't know where to go. I'm not saying that I know where to go, but I know there's a black market out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
it's not even that, because the laws change depending on what you want to buy. If you want to buy a handgun, there's like a waiting period. There's different. But remember, you was able to just go to Dick's Sporting Goods or Walmart and buy a rifle.
To go hunting, yeah. Right.
To go hunting.
So that's another thing that people always say. And again, I am not anti-gun. I am pro-gun control.
Me too.
Yeah, and I, but I'm also a conservative who's for, helping the poor people and, that sort of thing. So, like I said, nobody likes me anyway. But I would ask somebody who says it's my God-given right to go hunting that I would say, what, you're not man enough or woman enough to take down a deer with a compound bow?
I don't understand with all this that keeps happening with these schools, and I was talking to my barber about this. I don't understand. I go to all these other places, and I started talking to you about it. I went to the Bible Museum, and they have 3 guys in front of the Bible Museum museum, in front of the front doors, the only place you can go in, standing there with machine guns. 3 guys, right? Pretty intimidating when you go up and you just want to go into a museum. It's pretty intimidating, right? So you have these schools. Most schools have just one entrance going into them, right? Just one entrance. The other ones...
That's actually not true.
Okay, well...
They have a main entrance where the kids go in, but there's several exits for fire.
Yeah, well, I'm getting into that, okay. But there's one entrance where they go in. Then they have the other fire exits because they have to have the fire exits, which are usually locked. Or should be locked.
Unless somebody's...
Right, so
unless somebody's smoking a cigarette, but go ahead.
Then you got to go out the front door. I mean, seriously, if you want to smoke a cigarette, go out the front door and go smoke your cigarettes. These doors should have an alarm that if you open it, the alarm goes off. I'm just saying, the protocol of just locking all the doors that are fire doors, if it gets open, an alarm goes off, right? And the main entrance is in the front of the building. In front of that building, you have 1 or 2 guys whether they're retired officers, whether they're military, just standing there with machine guns. The guy that's going to go into that school is going to think twice about going in there. It's not going to be as easy as going in there.
I'm playing devil's advocate. I totally agree with you. I'd feel better if my kids went to school in a situation like that. My kids also go outside for recess. Are you saying the kids shouldn't go outside anymore? My kids go outside and play on the gym. So both of those officers then need to go out and, well, you wouldn't need two.
I mean,
because if they're in an open field playing, then you need
then
8.
you're talking a sniper.
Then you need 8. You
Right.
need a sniper on the roof.
Right.
We will do our best to get to y'all comments, but everybody's up here right now.
I mean, you can go ahead and say things like, all right, well, in that situation, what if they really just got a helicopter and just dropped a bomb on the school, right?
The point is this.
I'm saying make it a little harder for this to happen.
I totally agree, and I'm going to get to that point as well, because I agree with you that would help. And I'm also not naive to the fact that there are 400 million guns out there on the street. And if they were banned, the price goes up. So people start wanting them more and more. And to your point about making it harder to get into a school, I'm actually going to give you a point to put in your sling there for your argument. There was a study done, and forgive me, I trouble with dates, but 150 years ago, something like that, with what's called city gas in England. They had this. It was like a natural gas type of thing that was piped in through pipes into people's homes for heating and for cooking. And they wanted to replace it with natural gas because city gas was had a high carbon monoxide count. And what was happening was people were killing themselves, committing suicide really, really easily. If they had a bad day at work, they just go home, stick their head in the oven, turn it on, shut the pilot off, throw a blanket over their head, and kill themselves. And so all these city officials and people were saying, let's get rid of this stuff. It's so dangerous. Let's replace it with natural gas, which is much harder to kill yourself with. And that's what everybody kept saying. Well, they'll just kill themselves by jumping off a building. They'll kill themselves by, stabbing themselves. They'll kill themselves. Do you know the suicide rate went down by like 92% after they made the switch to natural gas? Because when you make it slightly harder, the numbers change dramatically. When you make it harder for somebody to buy a gun, less people have guns. When you give them a waiting period, and actually I wanted to address, Shane's pretty pissed off at me right now because of apparently I'm upsetting him. But he made a comment about a person who has a stalker waiting can equal death. They should be able to get a gun immediately.
But that's the point I made, unless there was somebody in imminent danger that needed it right away.
Yeah. So he's agreeing with you, and I am too.
Right.
Because my parents, Shane, were actually... they were, I don't know if you listened to me talk about it in the past, they were attacked by a crazy person in New York City. And like I said, in New York City, it's hard to get a gun. And even though that guy was a criminal and could have bought a gun illegally, he didn't because he couldn't get one. And he only had a knife and a hammer. And therefore, he only was able to stab my dad and my mom 15 times each and hit them with a hammer a bunch of times. But they both lived because he didn't have a gun. My point is that if somebody had a stalker and there's a 2-month waiting period, couldn't they go to the police, get a restraining order, and then have the police give them a copy of the restraining order? They could take it to the gun shop and be able to purchase a gun as like a bypass of the waiting period. If you can prove that you are in fear for your life, I'm okay with getting something in the meantime. Probably not an AR-15, not a great self-defense weapon.
And again, anybody could play devil's advocate to that, because the laws have to change in order for that to happen. And how long will it take for that to happen? That's the issue.
Yeah, but you know what? If we change the laws when Columbine happened, that was 23 years ago.
Facts.
If we had banned certain weapons, if we had put more restrictions, if we had put psychological tests and waiting periods in order 23 years ago, I'm pretty sure we'd have made some progress by now. And again, there is a problem with sin. People will still hurt people. We can't regulate that. I'm just saying there's kids that look exactly like my kids, who are the same age as my kids, who are unrecognizable because some 18-year-old who's mentally unstable was able to buy an AR-15 and 800 rounds and body armor. And the police were afraid to go into the building because they didn't think they could do anything. And we're talking about a teacher with a gun can solve this. It's sick. And what really, really makes me upset is that people are so angry and so dug in on their sides that they're not willing to sit in a room with each other and say, let's try to protect the children. Let's make this a federal thing where Tom says, let's lock down the schools. You know, let's put retired people. You're telling me Tom's idea wouldn't work? I know retired cops who would do that for free.
For free, yeah.
I know a firearms instructor who is a retired cop who would do that for free because he has a grandkid who's 8 years old. Anyway, but we won't work to each other because we want to say, you know.
I'm right.
We want to say, let's go, Brandon. And we want to say, you know, on the other side, what does the other side say? We want to say something else, and we not want to talk to each other, and we don't care, and we're so angry that we're just all waiting for the Civil War. I mean, come on. Like, can we just work together?
I'm August the first Sunday in August. I'm doing a sermon, which I already had prepared, and I was actually supposed to give it last week, but it's a sermon for the youth, and I'm going away to camp. So the first Sunday in August is the first time I'll be back, and what the sermon is about. And I was gonna wait this till the end, but I'm just gonna say it now, and we can keep talking about the whole gun thing. But the devil is going after our children, right? This thing that just happened, there was a door that was open that I keep talking about, right? What doors are we leaving open for our kids to have anxiety, fear, right? Lust, pornography, pride, all them stuff coming into our kids when they go to school? It's, for me, you know, it starts in the home. It starts in the home, telling our kids and protecting our kids and protecting them from the lies that the devil does to them at school and when they're out with the peers. Because when the kids go out there, the devil is attacking them, attacking the youth, attacking them, right? How are we arming, or how are we getting our youth prepared for the attacks that they constantly out when they're in the streets with the schools, with their friends and all that, right? Which leads to instability, which leads to madness, which leads to and then the shooting happens, right? I'm a strong believer, and I'm going to do a sermon on this, and it's all biblical. But the devil, the easiest weapon, the easiest people for the devil to go after is our children. Our children are the easiest one to go after. And if we don't talk to our kids and we don't tell them about Jesus, and we don't tell them and try to protect them about all these lies that are going to come in when they're not around us, that's just going to keep stacking up and stacking up and stacking up.
And that is why that quote fits everything. To lead an uninstructed body to war is to throw them away.
Yeah.
To teach your kids in the home.
Yeah.
You're throwing them away. You're throwing them to the streets. You're
Yeah.
throwing them to
That's
sin.
That's like the quote of the episode. I love you, man.
That's it, because that's even biblically that applies.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's exactly
I love
what
it.
I'm preaching about on the first weekend, and it's all for you guys.
I won't tell anybody if you use that quote when you're talking about
I'm going to have to use that quote.
training our children to go to spiritual war.
Yeah, spiritual war, and that's what's
Say it one
happening
more
out
time.
there.
To lead an uninstructed body to war is to throw them away.
You got to use that. I won't tell anybody that he brought that.
We got to ask
You
ourselves,
said
what
that was
doors are
original.
we leaving open for the devil to attack our kids and put all these thoughts in their heads that start accumulating years after years after years after years, and then boom, something happens.
Have any of you guys ever seen the movie The Usual Suspects?
Yep.
What's the main Kaiser Soze?
Kaiser Soze.
What's the main quote in that while talking about the devil? Because they call Kaiser Soze the devil. What did he say about the devil?
It's been a while.
What did he say the greatest trick the devil ever pulled?
Teach you that or try to tell you that he doesn't exist.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was to make you believe he didn't exist.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about all these solutions, but if we're not protecting them from the devil, from the liar,
But
what are we doing?
The Christian nationalism these days, though, really gets to me is because the church, there's several people who are fringe members of the church who are so latched into the Christian nationalism thing that it's really starting to become a cult. And I really don't like it when they mix the two, because it says, just like what I said earlier, I just want to make one more point about we don't have a sin problem. We don't have a gun problem. We have a sin problem. That's like me going down to Atlanta. You ever been to Atlanta? Mm-hmm. Worst rush. Everybody talks about the traffic in LA.
LA.
Traffic in LA is nothing compared to the traffic in Atlanta. 12 lanes each direction, congested all the time. That's like me walking down to Atlanta. Like me and Tom going to Atlanta, right? And Tom's on the side of the highway, and I'm talking to him, and I go, Tom, I got a problem with faith. And he goes, what's your problem with faith? I go, every day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I blindfold myself and walk across these lanes of traffic. And every day I get hit by a car. And he's like, well, that sounds really stupid. And I go, yes, I know. I need more faith. That's like the same thing that we're saying. Like we do need faith. And there is a real sin problem. But sometimes we just have to stop doing stupid stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Like selling AR-15s to mentally deranged people without any sort of psychological test and going, get out there, have fun.
You have to be 21 to drink, 25 to
You can't rent a car until you're 25.
25 to rent a car, right? But if you're 18, go ahead. Go get it.
But also, this does open up that whole new exciting world for Amazon selling bulletproof backpacks. So I'd like to get the backpack that shoots back. That's what I want. Since more guns are easily the solution.
That's the catchphrase.
Yeah.
The backpack that shoots back.
Oh, I love it.
That's sad.
Isn't it, though?
It's sad, and you know what? I have a sense of humor at times, and just sitting here, hearing you constantly say, "Gotta have faith, gotta have faith." I'm like, is this George Michael's over there? What is going on?
Yeah.
Because I gotta have faith.
I gotta have faith. I can't walk across the highway blindfolded.
It's a dark world out there.
The problem, like, here's what gets me: we teach our children right from wrong. Do you feel like it's your fault if you teach them what you're supposed to teach them and they disregard what you teach them?
Yeah, well, there's a verse in the Bible that answers that.
Please, what is it?
I feel like you did your job as a parent, but it depends on the situation whether you feel like maybe you should have driven it home a little more. What are you
No, I'm
talking
just
about?
saying, like,
Yeah.
you driven it home, you've made your point, you tried to, because you know how some parents are like, oh, I feel like I failed as a parent when their child does this, but you teach them everything they need to know. You arm them with everything they need to navigate.
Direct your children into the right path. This is Proverbs 22:6. And I'm a living example of this. Direct your children into the right path, and when they are older, they will not leave it. Start children on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. I was brought up with all these things that I speak of, right?
Right.
And then I myself decided to steer and go and live a worldly life myself. That was my decision, right? But I came back, and it's biblical. I'm sorry. Am I too close?
No, you keep going in and out.
I came back, and it's biblical. What happened in my life is not like, oh, wow, Tom. It's biblical. My parents brought me in the way of the Lord.
It's prodigal.
I steered. It's prodigal. So you continue to do that. You can't, if you're doing your job, bringing your child in the way that the Lord wants you to bring them, right? There's a difference. You can bring up a good kid, and then you can bring them the way that the Lord, right? The Sermon on the Mountain. Bring him up that way, right? Yeah, they might steer because the devil does lie, and he might get to them just like he did to me for 30 years. I came back. They come back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. When did you come back?
Yesterday.
Wow, it's good to have you back.
They must have a great son where you were.
No, that's the that's,
You know what I mean? It's
but you put that, you build that foundation, right? And then if they walk away, they walk away. But
and I'm not talking about the feeding them and making sure they have a home and make sure they have clothes. No, I'm literally talking about the Sermon on the Mountain. Raise your kids that way. They'll come back. Even they might not steer at all, but if they do, they'll come back.
I heard like 20 plus as the comeback years. I heard the teens were hard, and when they reach 20, they start realizing, I don't know everything.
I wouldn't know anything about that. All my children are wonderful. They're just fantastic.
My children are amazing as well.
They're fantastic.
All of them. Oh,
he's a rookie. Please forgive our producer.
No, it's the call-in line.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's the call-in.
Yeah, let's go to John in Conshohocken. How you doing, Johnny?
Johnny. I would like to incorporate that into the show one day.
Awesome.
I think that would be cool.
Hey, you think we could do that?
Yeah, we could do that.
This dude could do everything.
He
built the whole house with 2 hammers and 1 nail. I seen it happen.
Why do you need, if you only have 1 nail, why do you need 2 hammers?
Boom! dual wielding hammers.
I don't want to. I'm not naive to the fact that we have a big gun problem. There's a lot of guns out there, and I'm not naive to the fact that we're in a free country and you should be able to own a gun. I'm not naive to the fact that someday the government, like many other governments do, might try to take them. Hey! They might try to, and I do believe, that our government's too big and too powerful and not in the interest of people. I understand why people are afraid of the government and why they want to hold on to their weapons, but, I'm not against people owning a gun. I'm really not. I'm just against the guns getting in the wrong hands and just the fact that we are just printing them like funny money. They're just out there. And just anybody can have them. I definitely believe the whole idea of gun collecting is just weird to me. That people have 100 guns.
I know of a person who needed to borrow money to heat their home with oil. Needed to borrow money to heat their home with oil.
Which is like $100 a gallon right now.
A week later, came in and was showing, hey, look at this new gun I just got.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? But wait. You know those tool chests that stand about yay high with all the different drawers and
right.
Like 2 of those full of guns.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's weird to me. I don't understand it. I own 5 firearms, and it's.
I do too. Boom, boom. Firepower.
He just held his muscles up if you're listening, audio only. I didn't see anything, though. Did you have muscles? Like, did you actually flex?
I left the clips at home.
Oh. No, like, the whole idea, I don't know if it starts with video games or what, but this whole idea of, like, worshiping at the altar of war weapons, where you're just like, oh, I got to get that tactical vest. I got to get those boots. I got to go.
Worshiping, I like that.
It's if you're an art collector, like, I don't get that either because I'm not really into art. But if you look at it and say, I look at this piece and it reminds me of whatever and I think it's beautiful, like, okay, I get that.
And you want it to keep, not for resale.
I have several cars that I don't drive and I have several motorcycles, okay? I like automobiles. I like the way that the engines work. I like the sounds they make. I like being able to drive them. I might not go out and do 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds like it'll do or whatever, but I think it's cool that it can. I think it's a cool machine. When you're talking about a gun, the purpose of that gun is to maim, kill, and destroy. And the fact that you're just worshiping, going, I like this one because it has 18 rounds of death. Like, oh, okay, like, I don't, like.
Is that the same as idolizing? False idols?
Well, I just wonder what's next. You get the tactical knife, the tactical vest, the body armor, the boots, and you get the AR-15 with the strap and the double clip and the extended mag and the suppressor. And then what's next? Like,
you got to get the flashlight. You got to get the beam. You got to get the gloves.
At some point, there's nothing left to do but to use it, though, right? I mean, like, what's the point of having that? It's. I just the whole thing. I don't understand. I don't understand how people can see 20 kids, 19 kids be brutally murdered to where they need a DNA test
and still want.
And then just stand behind their political platform that they've been throwing up there for 20 years, going whatever.
Man.
It's
brainwashed. Like, I get in these arguments a lot, and sometimes I feel like I could lose the position I have if I continue in them, because I will say, those who are listening and those who are watching, understand my name is Elijah Griffin. I am a Christian, but I am flawed. I am not perfect. And I will let things come out of my mouth at certain times if I feel strongly about something. And it will happen, and I don't want to risk losing anything because I have an example to set for my children. So I will try and speak clearly. I will try to enunciate, and I will definitely try to not hurt whatever situation I'm in, but I am constantly around people that just believe what they believe. Like, if anything happens, first thing they say, oh, the Dems, oh, the this, oh, the that. And it's like, dude, go read a book. Go read the Bible. Do that. Read the Bible and tell me where you see the Dems and the Republicans at there. Like do that. Like, stop bringing that negativity, because people sit home and they stew about all this stuff, and when they get out into the world, impressionable kids and people who don't have groups like this or things to do like this or go to church or have positive people, they hear it and they soak it in, and then they start spewing the same thing, and it just spreads like a virus. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I ranted, I think.
The thing that really triggered me yesterday driving home from New Hampshire was I saw the exit for Sandy Hook, and I decided to look up because I couldn't remember how many victims there were. And I remembered it being a smaller number than Uvalde.
It was like 9 or something.
It was more. It was 26 or 27 total. But the thing that really got me was when I looked up the victim list. I didn't realize there was going to be pictures. And the first picture that popped up looked exactly like my 6-year-old. And little blonde hair, 6 years old. 6 years old. And there's people, when you start talking, will just shut you down. Just throw up the things that they've been talking out. All I want is for people to be able to work together. I'm not saying I'm stuck in somewhere. I'm just saying, can't we all sit in a room and try to decide how to keep 6-year-olds from going to school and being shot in the head? In what we call the greatest country. I wore my American flag t-shirt on purpose today because I'm proud to be an American. But it's sad that the American flag represents so many different things to so many different people, that we can't work together anymore. It's
these parents of the Texas kids went into that school in the morning to watch their kids get their honor roll diplomas and their awards. And later on, they watch them come out in body bags. And, you know, I was talking to Dave this morning for a while. He called me. He's like, you want a cup of coffee? And that turned into a really long conversation. And he goes, you know, Tom, what I don't understand, this hit me. He goes, this is going to sound awful, but I can get shooting the grandmother, right? You might have had a bad relationship with her or whatever, right? But how do you shoot one kid and then say, oh, that was cool. Let me shoot 18 more, right? How do you do that? I that's something I'll just never get.
I get if your grandmother was mean to you your whole life. I get, you know, I don't think it's good. I don't think you should do it, obviously. But I kind of get one adult and another adult after a time, just, you know, or a husband and a wife, you know, just been arguing for 20 years, finally snap. But that's what I said. How do you walk into a school with kids that you don't know?
You don't even know them.
You point a rifle at a 6-year-old's head and pull the trigger and say to yourself, that was a good experience. I'm going to do that again and again and again and again and again. And then you have what feels like half the country, but probably not. You have a large percentage of Americans say, I don't give a damn about those kids. You can't have my guns. I won't even sit here and discuss any alteration of how things currently are, even though when you present them with this doesn't happen in other civilized countries. The one thing, I was just watching this program about the Rwanda genocide that happened, you know, 10 whatever.
Right, it happened.
I was watching this program where these 2 European guys were traveling through Rwanda, and they were seeing some of these images for the first time. And one of the things that struck me is there was a church. They killed 1 million people in 100 days. Killed 1 million people in 100 days in Rwanda. And there was this church where one of the massacres had happened where they locked everybody inside and killed them. And the thing that really struck me was they turned the church into a museum. And what was in the church were the skulls of the victims and the clothes of the victims. And when they asked the lady, they said, why didn't you bury them? And we said, because we didn't want people to forget about them. We wanted them to see the skull that's in pieces. We wanted them to see the clothes with the blood stains on them. Because we want things to never, ever happen like what happened here. We want people to remember this, but we don't. And here, there's a shooting. And even last week when you said there's another, you talked about a shooting right before the show.
Yeah,
I said, the one in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. And you said, no, there was another one. It's like we forget. We just become numb and we just dig in our heels. Like
some
Guys,
people,
you can start putting your prayer request up.
Yeah. People, that's hard to hear. People don't understand how symbiotic the whole thing is. You know how they say, like, there's 6 degrees of separation and all of that. Something like that happens, and let's say the shooter makes it. The shooter is apprehended, not killed. Well, what that one act just created is a nation of parents like myself who go to work and can't focus on a job that I have to do to provide for mine because I'm worried about them in school. The whole country is like that. You send your kid off to school and you call them, FaceTime them, I love you, have a great day. Which my son doesn't understand. When I do that, I want to hear back from you. Don't just look at my message. Because when you don't respond, I worry. And I can't function when I'm worried about my children. And if I have an important job to do, and this person has me worrying about what they just did, and I can't do my job, more lives could be cost, because if I'm doing something that holds the fate of other people in my hands and I'm daydreaming or thinking or worried and something happens, that's like a snowball effect. Or that's what they go, like a snowball, like a snowball effect. So they don't realize what that one act can do to a country. And it's serious. Like a 6-year-old, really? Like, more prayer.
Yeah. So, Psalm 30, 1-5. I will exalt you, Lord, for you lifted me out of your depths and did not let my enemies gloat over me. Lord my God, I called to you for help, and you healed me. You, Lord, brought me up from the realm of the dead and spared me from going down to the pit. Sing the praises of the Lord, you, his faithful people. Praise his holy name. For his anger lasts only a moment, but his favor lasts a lifetime. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. The name of the episode tonight was actually Joy Cometh in the Morning. And
my joy is every morning I get to wake up and see them.
Yeah.
My kids don't annoy me this week.
I'm never going to be where you are.
No, I'm serious. My kids, the last week, Allison's my oldest is in the room. She knows for the last week when they start barking at each other, I said we're not talking like that today. Not today. Today we're happy that we have our sisters. My kids haven't annoyed me in a week.
Not today is my line. That's going to be my line every day.
Not today. Today, when my kid says something and I'm in the middle of something, I'm going to put that something down. I still don't know, as a Christian, how we're supposed to respond to tragedy like this. All I know is that we need to be open. We need to love each other. We need to not be hard cases, because to be so locked in, to your point, to be so locked in that the horse would have to drag you away is to say you're not a Christian anymore, because Christians are open to being changed by the Holy Spirit. Christians are supposed to be open to God working in their lives. If you say, I know everything there is to know, and I'm not willing to change, that's you telling God, you're not allowed to change me anymore. I don't know how you look in the eyes of a parent who's lost somebody like this and not be changed.
We met last Wednesday and we had a production meeting and that was the question to ponder about and to try to come up with an answer for it, but you can only go alongside them and just weep with them. There's really nothing you can say. There's nothing. I know the Christian answer is pray. I'm a pastor. I believe in the power of prayer. There's nothing you can say. I won't know what to say. But through my devotions recently, I've learned that God doesn't call us to say anything. As Christians, we're not supposed to have the right answers for people. We're just supposed to join them in their journey and be with them and guide them. And that's the only answer I came up with. There's no words that I can tell one of those parents that it'll be all right. Because it's not. It's not. It's not something that just goes away. The birthdays come, the Christmases come, the holidays come. I couldn't even imagine. I told my wife, I have grandkids, right? Thank God my kids are out of high school. Sorry, that sounds awful because it's selfish. I told my wife, I'm like, you know what? I'm a pastor. I got a hotspot on my phone, and I got my cell phone and my laptop. That's all I need for work. I'm just going to sit in front of the school of my kids' elementary school and just do my work right there. I can't imagine that going on. And it's turned into, what if this happens? It's going to sound awful, but now it's when is going to happen? When is it going to happen? That's the kind of world we're living in. It's dark. It's a dark world out there. And if we don't raise our kids, our future, with the light, it's going to be a dark world. I don't know if you guys have any prayer requests. I know my wife has one up there. But yeah, I mean, my whole closing today was what I said earlier, and his line was perfect. You know, we got to make sure that we are equipping our kids with that love, with Jesus. Because if we don't, they're going to start listening to the lies of the devil.
You know what's scary? What's really scary is that the kids that died, what kind of mourning did they have before they went to school? Who's going to be affected by it? How many times is the older sibling yelling at the younger sibling, you make me sick, you get on my nerves.
That's a great point.
Leave me alone. Go somewhere. And to not be able to come home and yell at that sibling again. Or to say, I'm sorry. How do you think they feel? Like the parents, parents feel horrible, I'm sure. But what about that sibling that no longer has that sibling?
I wondered about the kids as the shooting's going on because it wasn't quick. You know, it was, 50 minutes?
52 minutes.
I kind of wondered, did any of those kids, as their last thought, wonder if they'd done something wrong?
Mm-hmm.
That they couldn't be near their parents, that they were being punished. You know, it's absolute evil. We do have a sin problem.
Yeah,
for sure.
We do have a sin problem,
yeah.
But as Christians, we can't take the sin out of somebody's life. We can just be the hands and feet of Jesus, who is the only one who can wash it away, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you say in the situation? I think Tom's absolutely right. You don't say anything. If you're in the life of somebody who suffered a tragedy like this, you hold them. You sit across from them and you just be silent with them.
For as long as they need you to be.
But I think the easy thing that we're doing right now is pointing fingers and getting angry, and because it's easier than actually confronting the fact that we need to do something. It's easier to be angry at somebody than to actually make a change. It's easier because nobody knows what to do in the face of that tragedy, in the face of that mental illness. You know, and part of the problem is that we were talking about earlier is that there is no pipeline for what to do when you find somebody. I bet there's 100 people in that person's world who knew that they were mentally unstable. There's no pipeline to start. Nobody knows what to do with mental illness. But anyway, I just I have the list of names in front of me of all the victims. 10 years old, 11 years old, 10 years old. I think Claire's prayer is good enough for all of us, don't you, Tom?
Yeah, I do. I do. Let us pray. Javar, thank you for stepping in.
I know I didn't say much, but
No.
Sean never does either.
Yeah,
So
Sean just prayed at the end. That's why he's here. So you want to pray? I just kidding.
put him on the spot like that.
Man, let us pray. Father,
Sorry, real quick. Do you have
Sorry.
anything you want to add to our discussion? I mean, we should have told you. You feel free to interrupt at any time. But do you have anything you wanted to get out?
I think pretty much like everybody knows what needs to be done, but people are just so fixed on their own opinions that nothing ever gets like put in the works and fixed, you know. And this is why we just keep having these issues and problems, and it's really sad, you know. It's just like, because I have kids too, and just to, you know, see people having to go through this, I couldn't imagine what it would be to lose a child, you know. And it just something needs to happen, you know. And I don't know what that is, but
Well, I think what used to happen is this really weird thing called compromise, which one person would start at one side of the room, one person would start at the other, and they'd meet in the middle. And now we just want to stay in our corners and yell across the room.
I think what Elijah said touched me a little bit too, as far as the siblings. I know we don't have kids that watch this show, but we have parents, and tomorrow's never promised. This is a prime example of no matter how old you are, you know, a lot of times we're like, oh, I got plenty of time to make it right. I got plenty of time to straighten my life out. You don't know that because tomorrow's never promised, right? So we need to start leading with love, because, you know, you got a sibling situation when they get in a silly fight in the morning about my spoon, your Cheerios, or whatever, and then that other sibling gets shot. It's a big deal to that other sibling that just the last words that they had with their little sister was a fight over something dumb.
And how many kids fight in the morning? You know,
That's why when he said that, it hit me. I'm like, that's when they fight, is in the morning.
Yeah.
That's when their fighting goes on. And what if your little sister doesn't come home that day?
Out of 21 victims, how many had a fight that morning? How many's parents had to leave for work early and didn't get to give them a hug or a kiss that morning?
Yeah. And it's a lesson for us adults too. Lead with love. You know, you know the kids are going to get you mad, but let's react in the right loving way. We can teach them the right way and chastise them the right way, but let's lead with love. Let's lead with love, because you just don't know. Tomorrow's not promised. Not promised. And this is coming. Yeah, it's been a rough week.
And it's only Tuesday.
Pray us out, Tom.
Father God, we come to you with broken hearts today, Lord. As there's just so much darkness out there right now. I first want to lift up the families of these 21 victims, Lord. As I like we were talking, there's just no words that we can say to them right now. And I want to pray for Makina Lee Elrod's family, for Layla Salazar's family, Miranda Mathis' family, Nevia Bravo's family, Jose Manuel Flores Jr.'s family, Xavier Lopez's family, Tess Marie Mata family, Rogelio Torres family, Elena Garcia's family, Elena Torres family, Annabelle Guadalupe Rodriguez family, Jackie Cazadra's family, Uzias Garcia family, JC Carmelo's family, Matthew Rodriguez family, Jalia Seguero's family, Irma Garcia's family, Eva Morella's family, Amira Garza's family, Alexandria Rubio's family, Alethea Ramirez's family. That's so many names, Lord. I do know one thing. I know that all these names here they're all in heaven right now because they're kids. And the Bible tells us that. But it doesn't make it easy, the pain that we have to go through for losing someone. And grieving comes from love. Because if you didn't love, there would be no grieving. So we know that there was love here, Lord. And even for people that don't know these kids, there's love because they're kids. They were just going to school, learning to make a better tomorrow for us and for themselves. And they're not here today, Lord. I pray for our communities, our churches, our country, Lord. We're supposed to lead by example, and I don't know if we're doing that. I don't know if we're doing that, Lord, and that's me included in that. I'm not pointing any fingers at the political figures. I'm talking about myself. I don't know if I'm leading by example. Give us a Christ-like mind, Lord. Let us lead with love. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters is love. We're supposed to love our neighbor as much as we love ourselves. Oh, Father God, I'm just speechless right now. I pray for Donna.
Yes.
She was part of this church family, Lord. And the circumstances that she left way too early. Lord, I want to pray for us to become better listeners. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should be double listening and less talking because sometimes people reach out to us for help. And we don't even know that they're reaching out for help till it's too late. And that was the case with Donna, Lord. She was reaching out. She let a few of us know what was going to happen. But we didn't listen. We thought everything was fine. We lost a real servant. We love her so much, Lord, and I know that she's with you. Because the same grace that you give us every day is the same grace that you had on her, regardless of what happened at the end. I thank you for the friends that I have. Thank you for the conversation that Dave had with me this morning, because you know I needed that. You know I needed to hear everything that he told me this morning, Lord, and I thank you for him. Lord, I just pray that you can help us be bold. Help us be bold about you. I know that our kids don't like to hear about Jesus that often or go to church that often, Lord, but let us be bold with them and truthful and honest and let them know exactly that we have hope in Jesus. Our only hope is in Jesus. We suffer, but he came down to suffer a lot more than we suffer, Lord. For us, for each individual one of us, Lord. Help us not forget that. I pray for the remainder of the week. It's only Tuesday, Jesus. It's only Tuesday, so we've got a long week left. I just pray that you can be with every single one of us, Lord. I thank you for Javar. What a blessing he's been in the short amount of time that he's been here with us, Lord. Thank you for bringing him from nowhere, just out of the blue. All of a sudden, he knew everything, and it was able to just fit right in. I thank you for that, Lord. Thank you for Allison, and little E, as they're sat here listening to not an easy topic, because they're kids. And they just heard the topic. And I hope they got something out of it. I hope that something stuck with them. I hope that the way they treat their sibling changes. because tomorrow's never guaranteed, Father God. I don't know what other request came through, Lord, but I know that you know every single prayer request out there, Lord. So, Holy Spirit, I just bring up all the prayer requests, and if it's in your will, answer them. But I know that you're always working regardless of what happens, Lord. I hate to say this, but there's a reason why this happened. And only you know that reason, Father God. And we put our trust in you because we live by your promises. That's what gets us through every day is your promises, Lord. I pray for anybody out there that doesn't know you, that they have an encounter with you, and bring them to the light. Help us spread that light to them, Lord. I thank you for the show. It's an opportunity for us to give back a little bit and just praise your name, Father God. I pray for my brother Sean as he's not doing well right now, his health. We missed him. We love him. He's our anchor. His gift is prayer, and that's why he does it. And I just lift him up in prayer, Lord. I was just talking to Elijah. I don't know if his job is that important. It is always jeopardizing his health. I don't know. Just pray for him, Lord. He's in a hard situation right now with all these other things going on. Thank you for your mercy and your grace, Lord. For in your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Quick, before we go, I never meant this more than I do now. Two things. Well, three things. One thing I've done was put my son and daughter in a room together, stared them down, and said, if I'm gone today or tomorrow, all you have is God and each other. Be your brother's keeper. Be your sister's keeper. That's number one. Number two, I never try to plug the show for numbers or for ratings. Those who watch and listen, we appreciate you. But if you have siblings in your home, do me a favor. Do us a favor. Make sure they understand the importance of knowing each other, loving each other, caring for each other, and respecting each other. Finally, please share this. Yes, we talked about a lot of political stuff in the beginning, but when we got to the meat of this episode, it's very important that it gets shared any way you can possibly share it. On any platform you can share it. I hope we can timestamp it for when we did get to the meat of it, but Javar, he can do anything, so I'm pretty sure he'll probably figure that out.
You can just,
But,
if you want to get angry, listen to the beginning. If you want
right,
about 40 minutes in.
But we really and if you share it, like it, and whoever shares what you shared, make sure they like it too, because we do want to make sure that we're reaching as many people as we possibly can. So thank you, and God bless.
Although the sorrow may last for the night, the joy comes in the morning.
Amen.
I don't get it. I don't understand it, but it will. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
See you. Thank you.
Bye.
Man.
I didn't even...